All right, everyone. Hopefully my voice lasts a little bit, but you're probably gonna just be watching me do some examples since this should be a pretty familiar topic to you. The first two questions are review from your unit test that you took um, last week on Thursday. So converting measurements, we should see labels that are crisscross from each other. So if you're converting inches to feet, you should see this so that your inches can cancel out. For this problem here, you should be using the conversions that they give you and the original length. So your measurements should match up across from each other. All right, for today's new material, we're going to be using a chart for our first example. So fractions must be simplified, decimals should be clearly written with a decimal point in them, and percents need to be rounded to the nearest tenth if needed. So in the first one, we're given a fraction. So to make that fraction a decimal, you need to divide it because it doesn't have a clear-cut denominator that would change into 100 or into 10 to make it into 100. So if you're doing this, obviously you guys have use of your calculators. And if you need to show work, you should be putting your 5 on the inside, 8 on the outside. Go ahead and punch that into your calculator. And you should have gotten 0.625. You're going to place that in your decimal column. And then whenever we change a decimal to a percent, it's like we're multiplying by 100. So we can actually move that decimal point over 2 places to the right. And that gives us the percentage 62.5%. Don't forget your symbol. Decimals are a little easier to convert. When we convert decimals to percent, we do the same thing. Go from the decimal point 2 places over, and that gives us 145%. And then when we convert that decimal to a fraction, we take the whole number, we keep it, and then that 45 or 0.45, that 5 lands in the hundredth spot. So we make it 1 and 45 over 100, but you do need to simplify. When we're going from a percent to a decimal, one thing we need to remember is that there's a decimal point behind this whole number, and we're dividing this by 100 to make it into a decimal. So you need to move your decimal point 2 places to the left. So that gives you the decimal 9.0, or you can just write it as the whole number 9. And then when we make it a fraction, in order to make a whole number a fraction, we just put it over 1. So there's your entire chart filled out completely. The next set of examples, instead of using a chart, we're going to have to order things from least to greatest or figure out a percent from a word problem. So we're going to start with doing least to greatest order. What I like to do is I like to put them all into a percentage, and we just happen to do 5/8 as a percent. So that makes it nice and easy. So our percentage for 5/8 is 62.5%. 0.5%. For 6/100ths, all I have to do is move over the decimal place 2 places to the right, and that gives me 6%. So if I'm going from least to greatest, I have 0.06 because that was 6%. Then I have the actual percentage, 60, and then I have the fraction 5/8 because that's 62.5%. When I look at the word problem on the right, it says Billy's earned a 45 out of 60 on the keyboarding test. What is the percentage of the score? So we want to take 45 over 60, and we want to write it like a fraction first, and then we can set that up equal to 100 to make it a percent, and then cross multiply and divide just like we did in our proportions unit. So if you're looking at this, you can knock those zeros off, and you can just do 450 divided by 6. That gives you x is 75, so x is 75%. Moving on to the we do problems. I want you guys to pause the video and try and fill out your chart and the next section. And then I'm going to actually make the next part in another video.